Hello learners, welcome to this video lesson. Today we are going to discuss another important topic of your course. Course code is BESC 131 and course title is Education, Concept, Nature and Perspectives. Today we are going to discuss the topic. The title of the topic is Scope of Education from the Viewpoint of Different Learning Environments. Before starting our discussion, let me to welcome you all. Let me to introduce I Dr. Niradhar De, Associate Professor, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome you all to this video lesson. As you all know that presently we are in the second module of our course. The title of this module is Scope of Education, and in this module you will find three different video lessons. First is Scope of Education from the Viewpoint of Different Learning Environments. Today we are going to discuss this topic, and the other two video lessons are, the second one is Scope of Education from the Viewpoint of Measure, Focus of Study of Knowledge, and the third video lesson is Scope of Education from the Viewpoint of Mode of Providing Education. So, in scope of education, these are the three different major focus. One is learning environment, other is study of knowledge, and the third is mode of providing education. So, specifically let us now proceed to understand that what are the different scope of education is there so far as different learning environments are concerned. Let us go forward. Before discussing the very points, let me to focus upon certain learning outcomes, and I am very much hopeful that after watching this video lesson and after going through the content which is given in your self learning material, particularly in the module 2 of your course BESC 131 Education, Concept, Nature and Perspectives, you will be able to define the meaning and scope of education. What is the very meaning of education and the very scope of education, and you will be able to classify education from the viewpoint of different learning environments. And the third learning outcome is you will be able to establish the interlinking of informal, formal and non-formal education. So, these three, informal, formal and non-formal education are come under the scope of education of different learning environments. So, we will try to understand that what is the informal learning environment, what is the formal learning environment, and what is the non-formal learning environment, and how learning takes place in these learning environments, in these three different learning environments. Let us go forward. Let me to first focus upon certain scope of education. As we have already discussed in our earlier three video lessons in module 1 about the concept, nature of education. So, the scope of education it is deduced from the concept and nature of education. First of all, we can say that education is a process from cradle to grave. It continues from birth to death. That means that every situation, at every point of time, from every person, there is the possibility, there is the scope to get certain knowledge, to get certain understanding, to get certain you can say experiences. So, that is why this is not an ending process, rather you can say that it is an ever ending process. It starts from the birth and it continues till the death, and for that we can also say that this is a lifelong and continuous process. Further, we can say we learn from our daily activities at different situations, at different places, and from different people, maybe at our home, maybe at school, at marketplaces, during travel, in playground, during social gatherings, festivals, cultural activities, etc. So, that is why education and learning is possible everywhere, from every person. You cannot say that only you will get knowledge from the school, only you will get learning or you will be educated by the school. Rather, apart from the school, from many other agencies when you are coming in contact, when you are dealing with people, when you are coming in contact with your immediate environment, you are also learning a lot. So that's why it also comes under the scope of education. As already I have said that apart from the school, we learn many things through various informal and non-formal system of education. So our focus will be first of all to understand the informal education, then the formal education, and also then the non-formal education, and also the formal education that we call as the school, the formal school, or the colleges or the universities, that from there we get formal education. And further I can say that education is possible through different learning environments such as formal, non-formal and informal systems of education. Now let us try to understand the particular learning environments and how education is possible, how learning is possible from the particular learning environments. I have already said that so far as scope of education at different learning environment is concerned, it is of three types. If I will classify the scope of education on the basis of different learning environments, I can say that it is possible in informal system of learning, education is possible in non-formal system of learning or education, or it is also possible or learning is possible in formal system of learning. Many a time we face it is difficult that how we get learning, how we get education in the informal system, and what is the informal system, what are the non-formal system, and what are the formal system, and how education is possible in different systems. Now let us try to understand particularly, let us start from informal system of education to understand how learning is possible in informal system of education. Friends, informal education is the outcome of the interaction between a child or a learner with his or her social environment, maybe home, maybe society, community, and the environment where he or she lives. Try to understand here. When I say informal education, it means I am not focusing upon the schooling process. I am not focusing upon that the education that you are getting from the formal system of schooling. Rather, I am emphasizing your social environment. I am emphasizing your home environment. I am emphasizing the community where you are living, and I am emphasizing the physical environment, the physical surrounding where you are living. So friends, when you are coming in contact with different people, with different organization, with a different group, it may be your peer, it may be your friend circle, it may be a type of library, it may be when you are visiting different places. Okay. So you also get many experiences, and that experiences take a form of learning. So that's why when we say informal education, it means when we interact ourselves, when we deal ourselves with our social environment, we learn many things, and that learning is very much active learning, because by involving ourselves we experience those learning. And further I can say that informal education is not organized and structured, just like a formal system of schooling. Here in informal education system, you can say that the learning is very much structured, or you cannot say that the learning is organized, because here you do not have a curriculum, here you do not have a teacher, here you do not have a time schedule. Okay, because whenever you come contact with any situation, come contact with any people, there is the opportunity to learn something, there is the opportunity to gain certain new experiences. So that's why the knowledge that you acquire, the knowledge that you gain, the experiences that you acquire from the informal system of learning, that is not organized, or it is also not very much structured, but that helps you a lot for gaining education, for learning in a formal system of education, because the experiences that you will gain, further you have to use those experiences for gaining new knowledge in a formal system. Further we can say that only desirable learning in an informal education can be called informal education. Friends, when we come contact with the informal situation, with the informal social situations or social environment. So many things we learn, many things we observe, we come contact with many developments. Okay. So in our observance, whatever things we observe, we cannot say that every observation is a piece of knowledge. Rather, we can say that informal education caters only the desirable learning, that is really construct your knowledge, that is really help to develop your understanding. So that we can say that the informal education. But I am not saying that whatever things that you are observing all are the example of informal education. So informal education that really help you to live your life, really help you to understand a new concept, really help you to understand a new knowledge. Okay. So that's come under you can say the informal education. And further, informal education is purposeful but many times incidental. Why it is called as incidental? It is called as incidental because we acquire this knowledge, we get these experiences incidentally. We do not have any plan for that. Earlier we had not made any plan to gain such experiences, to gain such knowledge, but incidentally we are gaining such experiences when you are coming in contact with the people from different social environment and we are visiting different places, or when you are traveling also, incidentally you gain many knowledge, many understanding and many learning. Further, informal education can take place in a varieties of physical and social settings. There is no regular or prescribed form of it. Okay. So there is no regular curriculum, there is no regular syllabi and there is no regular form of it. Okay. So incidentally you come contact with and you gain certain experiences. Further, informal education is experimental in nature. It means the learner learns a lot through interacting with the learning environment. It is experimental because you are involving yourself to gain such experience. Okay. Many a time you are also doing a type of hands-on activities. Okay. So your observation, you are just involving your sense organ to experience the new things from different social environment. Further, informal education is a lifelong process which starts at the time of birth and continues till the death of a human being. Further, I can say it includes all types of life experiences of the child that he or she acquires from different situations, places, persons, environments and etc. we have already discussed. Then informal education prepares learners to take benefits from formal education. Therefore, learning starts informally and gets structured in formal system of education. I was talking earlier that the knowledge and experiences that you are getting from your observation, from your social environment, from different person to whom you are coming in contact with. So that is the informal form of knowledge, form of understanding or learning, and further that experiences, that learning and that knowledge will help you a lot for developing a type of understanding in the formal system of education. So that's why there is a linking of informal education with a formal education. You can say that all are exclusively different. Yes, the experiences that we are getting from formal system is different and the experiences that you are getting from the informal system is different, but the experiences that you are getting from your home, from the society, from the people, from different group, from this from your physical environment informally, that further help you to gather new knowledge in a formal system of schooling. Now friends, let us try to understand the second system of education so far as the learning environment is concerned, that is the formal system of education. We all are very much acquainted with the concept of the formal system of education. It is very much formal because there is a dedicated system for that, okay, a defined system for that. Just like formal education is the hierarchically structured, chronologically graded education system running from primary school to university education. So there is a type of hierarchy so far as the structure of formal education is concerned. Just like if I talk about the structure of education in our country, so far as the NEP 2020 is concerned, National Education Policy NEP 2020 is concerned. So there is the new pedagogical and curricular structure so far as school education is concerned, that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system of education. That is first 5 year is the foundational stage of education, that continues 3 years of pre-primary education and 2 years of formal education, that is class 1 and class 2. Then further 3 years of preparatory education, that is class 3, 4 and 5. And further 3 years is the middle stage education, that is class 6, 7 and 8. And further 4 years of secondary education, that is class 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. So friends, when I talk about a formal system is a hierarchical system, it means before completing the first stage, you cannot run further, you cannot move for the second stage. Just like before completion of one stage in school education, you cannot move to the second stage of school education, because after completion of foundational stage, then you can proceed for the preparatory stage, and further after completion of preparatory stage, you can proceed for the middle stage, and further after completion of middle stage, then you can proceed for the second stage, and further I can say that after completion of 4 years of secondary schooling, you can further move or pursue a higher education program or a type of vocational education program. So that's why this is a hierarchical system, and at the same time chronologically this is a graded education system also, and it runs from primary school to university education system. After completion of school education, you can enter in the higher education system, you can pursue 3 years of graduation program, and after graduation program you can pursue your master program also. And further we can say that with general academic studies, a variety of specialized programs and institutions for full-time technical and professional training also come under the formal system of education. It may be a formal system, it may be different types of technical and professional education also. It may be engineering, it may be teacher education, it may be management studies, it may be law, and it may be any other studies also. It includes both vertical and horizontal system of education. Let us try to understand that what is the vertical system of education and what is the horizontal system of education. Vertical system of education means just like I was talking earlier, that education is a formal education is a hierarchical system. That means after school education you can enter in higher education. Even if within the school education, after completion of one stage, you can just proceed to the second stage or the further stage. Accordingly, the horizontal system of education, it means after school education, when you are entering, you can say in the higher education system, or even if in the senior secondary stage of school education, that means in class 11th and 12th, there are parallel streams are there, educational streams are there, just like art stream, commerce stream, science stream and vocational stream. Okay. So, what you can do horizontally in formal education system, there is the horizontal system, that means as per the interest, as per the ability, as per the creativity and aptitude of the learners, one can pursue you can say an art stream, a science stream, a commerce stream, at the same time a vocational stream also. So, that is why formal education system is both vertical as well as horizontal. Further I can say formal system of education has a particular aim and purpose. The aim of education at different levels of schooling and also in different types of education are different. The aim of school education is different, the aim of higher education is different, and the aim of a type of schooling, a type of program in arts is something different than a type of courses, a level of courses in commerce or in science. Further, there is a particular time schedule for implementing any formal system of education. That school education you have to complete in the early 15 years of your life. Let higher secondary education you have to complete it in 2 years. Then college education you have to complete it in 3 years. So that's why there is a particular time period for completion of a program or a course which come under the formal system of education. Then every formal education has a definite curriculum and courses of study. Students receive necessary knowledge, attitudes and skills through the prescribed curriculum. There are entry requirements for students to get into a particular level of formal education. I have already said that before completion of senior secondary or the 4-year secondary education, you are not able or you are not permitted to pursue a graduation program. So that's why there is certain entry requirement is there, and definitely there is certain curriculum is there for a type of program. Okay. Certain courses, certain content points, certain activities are included in a formal system of schooling. And further, in formal system of education, teacher uses teaching learning strategies that includes classroom teaching, practical experiences, field based experiences, then participation in co-scholastic activities. So it includes both scholastic as well as co-scholastic activities, and it includes varieties of activities. Teacher involve the students, or this is the part of the curriculum that you have to take part in different types of discussion, debate, demonstration and different types of activities, and that activities may be inside the school and it may be outside the school also. And teacher uses varieties of learning method, teaching method, techniques and strategies. The strategies of teaching a subject is somehow different than other subjects. So that's why it is possible in a formal system of schooling. And for the formal system of schooling is operated through a centralized body that may be a board or an university. Let us try to understand. I can give the example of different state boards, secondary board of different states in our country. You can take the example of the secondary board of the state of Uttar Pradesh, the secondary board in the state of Odisha, the secondary board in the state of West Bengal, secondary board in the state of Maharashtra, in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, or in the state of you can say Gujarat. So here there is a board. Board takes care or you can say take the examination, certify the learners, and in the higher education system, the universities, it may be a state university or it may be central universities, they take care the detailed education system. They develop the curriculum and they prepare the structure for implementing that curriculum, and they also do evaluation activities and certify the learners. So that's why it's come under the formal system of education, that it is run through different centralized bodies. It may be a type of board or university. Every formal education is based upon certain learning outcomes. Okay? Achieving the specific learning outcomes is the goal of the formal system of education. Okay? And further, those learning outcomes will help the learner to certify from that program. The learning outcomes are assessed through formal education system by the education board or the universities. Next, now let us try to understand the non-formal system of education. Non-formal system of education is also an organized system like formal system of education. The major difference between formal and non-formal systems of education is the term of flexibility in planning and implementation of the system. You see, formal system is somehow rigid in nature, okay, but non-formal system is very flexible in nature. It is flexible in terms of its time, it is flexible in terms of the experiences that it provides to the learners, it is flexible in terms of taking admission, it is flexible in terms of using the modes, methods. Okay, we will further discuss the detail of it. Non-formal education system is also called as the alternative system of education. Many a time it is not possible to get education for a particular group of population, for a particular group of learner by using the formal system of learning. Many a time you will find that the learners or the clientele group are already pursuing a type of job. They are already in the job field, but they want to upgrade their knowledge. They want to promote themselves and they want to move from one stage to another stage. So, for that they require further education, and how these further educations are possible. So, they can do it by using the non-formal system of education. This is also called as the alternative system of education. With their job, they can pursue their education. We can further say that this is in spirit fulfills the objectives of the lifelong and the continuous education. We have already said that education is a lifelong process and education is a continuous process. So, the non-formal system of education, it works for providing learning, for providing experiences continuously. A learner, irrespective of his or her age, irrespective of his or her experiences, can take admission in a non-formal system of education and pursue a curriculum, pursue a program. Distance education, open and distance learning, that is called as the ODL system. Then online education, which is very much popular today and going to be popular today by the students, etc., provide through by using the non-formal mode. So, that is why distance education system that we practice, that is come under the non-formal system of education. Like formal education, non-formal education has certain goals and objectives of this program. You can say that non-formal education does not have a goal or aim of education like informal education. It has its own objectives, it has its own aim, it has its own curriculum like formal system of education. Non-formal education system is flexible in terms of completing an academic program. So, here there is no rigidity. A maximum, a minimum time period is there, and definitely you will find a maximum time period. Just like in Indira Gandhi National Open University, you will find that a 2 years program, master year program, minimum duration of this program is of 2 years, and the maximum duration of this program is of 4 years. One can complete the program taking the maximum duration of the time of you can say 4 years. A 3-year graduation program, one can take the maximum time period, that is 6 years. It is simply double. Then curriculum and courses of study are formulated keeping in view of the learning needs of the learners, their aptitude, what the skills and competencies, what they really require. Then teaching learning process is generally learner oriented and flexible in nature. Like formal system of education, there is a centralized body which operates the system, plans and implements the program, evaluates the achievement of the learners and satisfies their performance. So, here the evaluation system is also done by a centralized body. It may be a board or it may be an university. Further, we can say assessment of learning outcomes is also carried out in a non-formal education system. Now, let us focus upon the flexibility in non-formal education. What are the different flexibilities we provide in the non-formal system of education? First of all, plan and implement certain programs or courses for a small group of clientele, say illiterate person, out of school children, the workers, etc. You see, the program that we develop in non-formal system of education, it touches every clientele group of the society. Okay, it may be illiterate person, it may be out of school children because of any reason, it may be the workers also. Further, no need of regular classes, even the courses can be offered through distance education system. Just like Indira Gandhi National Open University, we take online sessions, we take counseling sessions, but there is no need that every day you have to come to colleges or come to your study center for the face-to-face class. Okay. So, that is why here, because already you are engaged in different world of work, this is an opportunity for you to pursue your education by getting the learning materials, at the same time by attending different online and other counseling and induction sessions. Okay. And further, there is flexibility in duration of the program and its completion. I have already said that you will get a minimum duration for completing your program, and also you will get a maximum duration for completing your program. It addresses special clientele group not only for the professional development but also for development of their basic education. Okay. So, here it includes professional education, higher education, at the same time school education also. Friends, today we discuss about the scope of education on the basis of different learning environments. We discussed 3 different learning environments. First we discussed the informal learning environment, then we discussed the formal learning environment, and we also discussed about the non-formal system of education. And I think you might have understood it better. You can put many examples, and if it will come in your examination, definitely I am hopeful that you are able to write. Okay. Question may come from the concept and practices in the formal system of education and in the non-formal system of education and in the informal system of education. How informal system of education help to gain education in the formal system of education and to differentiate different you can say system of education so far as learning environment is concerned. In our next session, we will discuss other learning environments so far as the scope of education is concerned. Thank you.